So we will get started here. So I'm a big native person. I do like my natives. In fact, I prefer them. Um, but I really, really like to kind of get out there on the edge of things. I'm not, I'm not really that way. I don't think I'm not risky things, but with plants, I do. I'm like, it's fine to kill a plant. It's fine to do that. Then you've learned something more than likely. So anyway, I do love natives, but it's fun to have that little spot where it can be tropically looking. So I asked the question. I mean, these are just things off the internet, some from my town here. I mean, this is just this, and I'm really sorry if I offend anyone, but this is really boring to me. I need more than that. So these type of landscapes, we just see them over and over, and I'm ready for something else. So let's get into some more adventurous type stuff. All right, so we just talked about, or Sharon just mentioned something about our zone. We are in zone 6, but there is the newest USDA plant hardiness zone map is from 2012 and is based on 30 years of data, more accurate data. And the previous one, our hardiness zones that you can see there on the right, was only based on 13 years. So this new map is a vast improvement, and it will probably be improved again. And our UK meteorologists are saying that we are getting hotter and wetter in Kentucky. And so those trends, if those trends hold true, in another 20 years, this map may look vastly different. So point being, our climate may be changing, but we can also use microclimates around our homes right now, because most people will have we're in zone 6, which means where we get our lowest average temperature is 0 to -5 or -5 to -10, depending on if it's A or B. But around your house, you probably have a zone higher and a zone lower than zone 6A or B. So we're going to use those to our advantage. And here's just another shot of that. I'm sorry. So Kentucky's fully in zone 6, with the western edge of Kentucky being fully in zone 7. And here's a more close-up map. Out west, you can see it's a lighter color green, and the rest of the state is pretty much the other type of green, with some dark green indicating 6A rather than 6B. Okay, so this hardiness zone map is good for gardeners because plants are assigned to these zones. And so basically, if you've got a plant, a holly or something that may be hardy to zone 3, that means that if you go to a zone 2 winter, it may have some difficulty. So anyway, many of the plants that we think as southern plants may be more cold hardy than we really know. And a lot of it, and I know I go to Plant Delight's nursery and look at information sometimes, and he'll put question marks beside the hardiness range, because he doesn't feel like it's been tested enough. So let's use our microclimates to cite these more tropical, we think of more tropical plants, and go from there and just see what we can do with it. All right, so when we talk about cold hardiness, which is, when you think about which is hardier, the roots or the shoots of a plant? Well, the roots are underground for the most part, so they're buffered from the worst weather. The shoots are the hardiest. So we really need something that's more root hardy. We always talk about, if we have issues with cold damage, if the plant is not acclimated correctly, then that can make a difference on whether or not a plant lives or dies from that cold event. The other thing is, we can actually improve our hardiness even in those zones. Maybe if you have a zone 6B or 7 area around your home, we can provide some covers. That could mean snow. snow is one of the best covers that some of these cacti and things can have. But it can also be a man-made cover of some sort. And we can also do some things even with rocks. I have some experience with some cactus that I've gotten from out west and in the deserts. And if we situate rocks in our bed, that'll help protect them from the winds and desiccation, and will also absorb any warmth from the sun, excuse me, from the sun, and re-radiate that back to the plants at night. So that's something to consider. And I do make sure that I place rocks here and there around my cactus. Now, about every one of these plants we're going to talk about today, and we're going to zoom through, need dry winters. And that's where we fail miserably in Kentucky. We average around 50, I think, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, 50 inches of rain a year, precipitation a year. That could be in the form of snow, of course, which we don't get much snow. And if we do, it's gone rather quickly. So, you know, we need to focus on the dry winters to really get some of these things through. So how are we going to do that? We can do something very elaborate and build berms, which is just a fancy name for piling up a bunch of stuff so that it has really good drainage and you can give it the right exposure that a plant needs. So you can create one. You don't have to just find one on your property, obviously. So you can create berm. In my case, and I'll show you pictures, it's pretty small, actually very small, but I just amended the native soil and mounded it up. So that's what we're talking about. So I use pea gravel. You can use the pumice stuff that's dry stall. You can use perlite, vermiculite, sand, any of those things that are going to get water away from the roots of these tropically plants. Okay. So here's my amended bed, and where I've planted some of these cactus that shouldn't overwinter here, at least by some standards, but they have to have full sun in both the winter and the summer. So be sure that you're not got any late in the day shade that might hit this. Again, drainage. You want to put rocks in there. We do need to water these things if we don't get any rainfall. I have never watered mine. Maybe they look it, but they do. They've done fine for some of these are in the ground 3 years and some of them are in the ground about 6 or 7 now. And then we talk about cutting off the water to make dormancy occur or start that dormancy process. So here's in the upper left, you know, that's the amended soil. But after you get done, you put a nice 3 to 4 inch layer of your decorative gravel on there, and it really looks nice. And I just so happen to have some big rocks around. So I think some of our guys were in the field and they found a bunch of rocks, and I said, bring them to me. So we put these rocks around the bed. It's slightly elevated. I added sand and pea gravel to my native soil and just mounded it up. And so far, again, no problems. All of these, there's 4 new cactus in there. All of them have done fine so far. They've flowered. But you can also see the placement of the rocks in the lower left picture. And they say to plant, you know, to the north or the west of those rocks. But I'd say put a rock anywhere and it will help because of that re-radiation of the heat back. All right, so quickly, I'm going to go through some different things. And at the end, if we have any questions, I'll talk about resources, because resources are going to be what you'll want after this presentation if you're really into it. So let's go with some palms. Needle palm. That quote there, the toughest cold hardy palm known on earth, is from one of my resources. So yes, a needle palm of all things. And look at these. They're doing well. Plant Delights, I mentioned that when you see Plant Delights on the slides, they're in Raleigh, North Carolina. So they are a full zone, warmer than us. So take that into account. Okay, windmill palm. So this, if you want a trunk, Okay, this is the hardiest one that actually forms a trunk. Again, I'm sure it's not full hardy, but again, you're just trying to push the zones, put it where you think it might get some protection from winter winds. I'll also tell you that Brian, I can't think of his last name, Brian Botanicals in Louisville, just south of Louisville. He has these huge palms and stuff that he overwinters, and it's a really fun place to go and just look around. So he can help you out as well. So here's dwarf palmetto. Again, I'm going fast, okay? And I'm gonna not even talk about this, so we can go on with some other things. Let's talk about bananas, because I do love the bananas. I have had a banana, the Musa Basju, which we'll talk about, for probably 10 years. This is it, Japanese fiber bananas. It's Musa Basju. It is extremely cold hardy. You do not have to dig it up, and you just put a little extra mulch on top. And like I said, I've had mine for at least 8, 9, 10 years, and it's come back every single year. Not a problem at all. And so if you start with the May 2019 picture at the top and we go counterclockwise, so this is how it emerges in the spring. There's what it looks like after a little while in the ground or mid-season. Last year and year before, oh my gosh, these things were so tall. You can see the November 2021 picture with me standing there and beside of it. And then it all crashes down with the first frost. And then you have to remove these huge, they'll be 6 inches in diameter, 8 inches. You can see the picture up there with my saw on it. They're huge. And then you got to somehow dispose of that. But it is so much fun. And when you sit out there with your adult beverage or not, and you're under your banana tree, you just feel like you're in Key West. So anyway, you can see also on the right-hand side, the extra mulch I put on there. It can be straw, it can be mulch, hardwood mulch, it can be anything. Just make sure you give a little bit of love. There's also I don't know how to pronounce a sikkim banana. I don't know. Anyway, I did recently read something that this one probably could overwinter as well. So again, siting, drainage is not as much a concern with these bananas, but they still don't, they don't want to be in water, obviously. Nothing really does, except for those type of plants that love that. But anyway, so the drainage is not as much an issue, but still the siting of these things are important, especially this one that may have a little bit of, may be a little too cold for here, but might not. And there's the 3 of them. Let's keep going. Got a lot to go through. Cactus. I do love cactus. I'm into prickly things. I love our native Aurelia spinosa, devil's walking stick. I have lots of those around. They're so much fun. So these are the 4 though that probably have the best shot, but there's more of overwintering here. So here's a bunch of information on these hedgehog cactus. I am not going through this all. You have this as a resource to look at. I do have the Rickenbachii, the lace cactus at home that has done well in my amended soil. So again, I can at least attest to that one. But all these, look at this, to zone 4 to zone 5, that's colder than here. So it's all about dry winters and trying to achieve that if you can somehow or the other. And here's our pincushion cactus. I think I have one of these. I forgot now what I have. I think it's the Missouriensis. But anyway, they're fun. Give them a shot. I'm, again, not going to go through these, but you have the information. And the Genocalcium, Calicium, there. I'm not good at these scientific names sometimes. But anyway, again, these are going to be pretty darn hardy as far as temperatures, but not wet winters. And let's end the cactus section with our Opuntia. We have a native prickly pear here, of course, but there's lots of prickly pears across the United States. And actually, I think North America is where all the Opuntias are native. But they are a lot more tolerant of our wet winters. They will do extremely well almost in anywhere that you happen to plant them. I'm trying to think what else do I have here. Yes, I'll just show you what it looks like. So this Opuntia in the left, on the left, is actually one I got from Utah, in the desert of Utah. Some guy was out, we were vacationing, some guy was out there pruning this, and I said, can I have a pad? He said yes. So I took it home, rooted it, and then planted it, and it has been the most vigorous thing in it outdoes our native one, our what is that, humifissa? I forget the the species name, but anyway, our native one is doing worse than this one is, but I did provide it the drainage. The snowfall, you can see it looks kind of weird, but a cactus with snow on it, but it does fine, and it looks pretty flattened sometimes by the end of the winter, but it pops right back up, and I prune it constantly. I bet I pruned half of it this year because it was just getting way too tall. So yeah, you can go crazy with these Opuntias, some of them. All right, crinum lilies. I have done a whole webinar Wednesday on crinum lilies. They have these huge leaves. I would definitely watch my crinum lily presentation because that's going to give you the most information, but these can be very pretty. They have really big leaves. And yeah, they're fun, and they're very fragrant. So if you like the fragrance in your garden, need to get some. We'll talk quickly about some bamboos. A lot of people, you say bamboo, and they think you're crazy for even bringing it up because they always think of the running type, but we do have some good clumping types, and that's what you need to focus on, is those clumping types. Most are going to be native to China. A lot of them are going to be perfectly evergreen and provide that. So yeah, let's get going on some of these. So you can see there's the hardy dragon bamboo, there's the umbrella bamboo. Again, not going to go into it much, but the hardiness, you can see hardy to -20. That's pretty dang hardy in my book. There's another one, and then this green panda, it has been named a Theodore Klein Plant Award winner. So it's very hardy here, and I think that must be at Udell Gardens where I took that picture. But anyway, they can be very nice specimens and give you that that look, bamboo look that you don't regret planting. All right, let's go to some mothers. So we've got some yuccas. We do have a yucca that is very, very, very hardy. Many of you may see those that hold home places, or just see them stuck in different places. You cannot kill them. So again, they usually prefer those drier soils. So you can go crazy with the yuccas. The top of my screen is blocked off, so I'm having a hard time. The yucca rostrata, though, it does have a nice trunk, and it is hardy to zone 5. That is pretty crazy if you ask me. But anyway, try it and see what you can do with it. But again, no wet feet in the wintertime, none. Okay. There's another one, shot yucca. Let's keep going. There's a lot more I'm talking about. So again, just pick and choose the right ones that have the most likelihood of success, and make sure they're not got wet feet. I recently bought one of these. I went to the Dallas Arboretum and saw this and saw a hummingbird on. I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. And I thought it was going to be out of reach for me. And when I researched it, it's hardy to zone 5. It's going to be perfectly hardy here, but it does need full sun and good drainage. And you all have heard me say that over and over again, right? So keep that in mind. And the agaves, I was just looking at something this morning about agaves, and there's a guy that's in a wet area and growing these successfully, but I'm sure he's got amended soil. So there's a lot of agaves that could work for our area. And if you look at this, I'll show you some books that I have, but this one is going to be hardy to -20. And then you go to, in the fine print at the bottom of the slide, if you go to some resources that you think might be a good resource, like Fine Gardening, they've only rated this to zone 9. So there's some big discrepancies in some hardiness of some of these. So experiment. There's some more. I'm gonna run through that one as well. And there's Sotalls. I don't really know what they are, but isn't that cool looking? Very, very cool. And maybe to zone 6 with a little protection. So if you want to try it in your hopefully zone 6 or zone 7 microclimate around your house, go for it. Another one. Okay, this one's the most cold hardy of the two that I've shown, the last one and this one, so the desert spoon. Okay. Now, I do want to get into this because this can be fun too. And this is using plants that we know are hardy here, but have a more tropical look. So quickly, pawpaw. I think pawpaw looks kind of tropically. It's got those drooping leaves, big leaves. So I would consider that a tropical looking plant. So yes, perfectly hardy here. We'll never have any issues with overwintering. And then you've got this weird thing. But again, just this is going to be very hardy, but it's about part shade and a lot of moisture for this one. So total opposite of the other things we've been talking about. Yes, princess tree, Paulownia. This one, it can be done in a really cool way. I've not tried it yet, but I think I might. We hate this tree usually because it's got a lot of trash. It's a little bit invasive, but it is impressive. It can really grow fast in 1 year. And I usually get a call a year, and probably the other hort agents do too, you know, about what's this tree that's grown 12 feet tall in 1 year? Well, it's probably this one. But anyway, look what you can do to it. You can do this thing called stooling and keep it young and like with 1 stem or 2 stems or 3 stems. And that picture on the right, I mean, look at that. That's pretty cool looking, I think, and can provide that tropical look with a perfectly reliable plant like a Paulownia. And you all can go to that website at the top if you want more information. All right, we can grow citrus. So if citrus is your thing, ours is a little spiny, but again, I'm into spiny stuff, so I'm fine with it. So yes, you can grow this hardy orange. It's a very interesting plant, I think. It's kind of all over the place. It's not neat at all, but you can use the fruit. So there you go. The rice paper plant, that's another kind of weird one. I've never done this one, but it does. It could have some effect on if you are sensitive to the fine hairs that it has. So you need to be careful. But this one looks extremely tropical to me. I don't think I'll try it because I've run that around. And then the grass, Rundodonax is the giant reed. To me, it can provide a little tropically feel. It can be invasive in states south of here, but it's not terribly spready. And if the other hort have any experience that differs from that, they can certainly chime in. But I've never had any problem with the ones here at the office. And then, of course, our elephant ears or alocasias, colocasias, you can go crazy. I will tell you, the guy that I mentioned, Brian's Botanicals, he breeds his own sometimes. And actually, this one on the right is the one I bought from him for a class. But he goes over and he'll fiddle around and breed these things. And he's right there in Louisville, and he's got some really different stuff. Pineapple lily, I've had that here at the office for probably 6 years, and it is perfectly hardy. It's a big bulb, and can, again, just the kind of bold leaves. I love the sparkling burgundy, which is what I have here. And the flowers are pretty cool. Like the picture on the right, it makes this pineapple looking top, and it's kind of interesting. And then I'll quickly go through these. Mimosa, I wouldn't recommend, but it does kind of look tropically. Don't plant it. My mom actually wants one, and I'm trying hard to talk her out of it. But I'm afraid she's going to go dig up one somewhere. And yeah. Cannas. I think you should try cannas. I think you should. Some are going to be more hardy than others, but just give them a little extra love, a little extra mulch, or dig them up. Hopefully you want to dig them up, because that's the whole idea of tropical looking planting. You don't have to do anything with special as to leave them in the ground. I think sweet potatoes look kind of tropically. Maybe you don't agree. All the ferns look tropically, especially the big ones. So you can go crazy with those. Hostas, of course, look good. We have the king tut papyrus, and catalpas that can be stooled just like that Paulownia can. And there's one called Aria that looks pretty interesting, I think, that picture you see there with the era. And then castor bean, of course, that's got ricin, the poison, so you may not want it if you've got susceptible people and pets that might get into it, but it is a pretty cool tropically looking plant. Okay, so there's, I'm not going to go through this either, but I am going to show you the books, which is, I think, I don't know if y'all can see this. Palms won't grow here. No, it's got blurred out. There we go. It's not going to do it. Palms won't grow here. It's a great book. That's the first one I got. This other one called Cacti and Succulents for Cold Climates. These are all timber pressed, by the way. Excellent resources. And then Hot Plants for Cool Climates. That's another good one. And I think I am done.